So you've got the motivation, you're putting in the hours, so why isn't your business growing the way that it should? I'm Nigel Bottrell. I've built 15 separate £1 million plus businesses right here in the UK. And after working with thousands of UK entrepreneurs, what I can tell you is this: there are 7 core beliefs that all super successful entrepreneurs have. And these beliefs are fundamental to their success. Now, some of these beliefs will probably surprise you. All of them will help you. And in this video, I'm going to pull back the curtain and I'm going to share with you the 7 core beliefs that all super successful entrepreneurs have, and we'll explore how you can apply them into your business. Let's get straight into it. Our starting point, belief number 1, that is common to every super successful entrepreneur, is that they know what success looks like for them, and they believe deeply that it's possible. Sounds obvious? Well, it's not. You see, most people running a business cannot describe what success looks like for them. Their strategy, if we strip it all away, is really based on hope. I'll do this and I hope it'll be successful. I'll do that and I hope it'll make a difference and make me more successful. That is not how super successful entrepreneurs think about their business. They have their success mapped out, because when you have clarity as to what success looks like, then doing the things that are necessary to make it happen becomes so much more straightforward. But without that clarity, what happens typically is your actions are smaller, you play safe, you're more cautious, your progress is slower, and your potential remains massively unrealized. I was chatting to one guy just last week about where he was going with his business. And he was very ballsy, very bold. He said, I want to be a millionaire. And immediately I hear someone say that, by the way, all my kind of antennae kind of fire off, because it's a good symptom of someone that is not congruent with this first belief. I say, well, because millionaire, it's a kind of very well used broad phrase. Why do you want to be a millionaire? So when I got talking to him, he started to open up a little bit. And there's a particular house or a street that he wants to move to. He's got ambitions for his children to go to a particular school that's a fee-paying school. There are places he wants to go on holiday. He's very big into his cars, and he is aspiring to a particular Aston Martin model that he wants to buy. And because all this stuff takes money. And I said, well, this is great. I said, how much is all that going to cost you? And he couldn't tell me, because he'd not done the thinking to get clear on what success looks like. When you start to do the work, which we did in his case, what we came out with in round numbers, this guy needs like £500,000 a year to fund the lifestyle that for him would mean he's been successful. Now, I'm not judging him, neither should you. We all get in business to set our own rules as to what success looks like for us. We get to choose. But the clearer we are on what success looks like for us, whatever it is, the more likely it is to happen. Without that clarity, you'll tend to just mark time and spin the wheels and not move forward very much. I promise you that is what will happen. And it's why this first belief is so common and so core to all super successful entrepreneurs. Now, once you understand what the business needs to pay you to fund the lifestyle that you want, that means you've been successful, you get to choose that as an entrepreneur. Once we understand that, we can then start to transpose those numbers into the business. We can start to understand how much profit the business needs to generate on an annual or a monthly basis. We can then take that profit number and distill it further within the business to understand how many customers does that mean that we need to be getting and servicing and looking after. And to look after all those customers, how big does my team need to be? And all of a sudden, from this sort of very wishy-washy, broad, meaningless, I want to be a millionaire, what we're starting to get now is clarity as to how many staff we've got, how big the team is, how many customers we've got, what our margins are, what our profitability needs to be, to make those goals, that success, that lifestyle, to make it actually happen. And super successful entrepreneurs have that clarity. They know what success looks like for them. And then the second part of this first belief, because they know what it looks like and they believe that they can make it happen. And the reason they believe, or one of the main reasons they're able to believe, is because they've got the granularity and the detail as to what success looks like. This is not kind of some kind of blind faith. I believe, I believe, I believe. It's not what this is about. This is, I'm a straight talking Yorkshireman, for goodness sake. There's nothing woo-woo about the way we approach business here at Entrepreneur Circle. This is all about getting clear, crystal clear on what success looks like for you, mapping that into the business, which is very straightforward to do once we've got a number to work with. Very, very straightforward to do. And then that kind of becomes the business plan. And all super successful entrepreneurs think this way. It's why it is their first core belief. And if you aspire to become genuinely super successful in business, then the first step for you to take is to start to write down what success looks like for you. And the more granular and detailed you are about it, the more likely it will be that you can make it happen. The details matter. Now, the second belief that all super successful entrepreneurs have is that they recognize and accept that their level of success, the progress they're going to make towards where they want to be, that progress will be directly linked to how they think. What I've discovered through nearly 20 years now working with many, many thousands of business owners in the UK is that most people, in truth, don't think that much at all. Most people go through most of their life in a kind of semi-conscious state. I don't mean medically semi-conscious, clearly, but like they get up at the same time, they have the same morning routine, they drive the same route to work, they do the same things in the workplace, and their brain is not actually having to contribute hugely to their existence on a day-by-day and a week-by-week basis. That's fine if what you want is a lifestyle and a life that most people have. But if you aspire to super success, you have to recognize that we're going to have to engage our brain cells and we have to think quite a bit. And here's a number of reasons why. First of all, whatever business you are in, you being good at what you do will not be enough to make you super successful. Okay, in every business and sector, there are lots of people. One of our customers is a dentist, and he got really focused on his qualifications, and he became like the most qualified dentist in the UK. There was nowhere else he could go. He has put all his spare time and spare hours into studying for these additional qualifications to make him super duper qualified. And I had to tell him that his customers really don't care. His patients that come in, they want their teeth fixing, they want their smile to look good, they want to be pain free, but they don't really care how many additional qualifications he's got. They just want a dentist that is able to look after them nicely, that makes them feel good, creates the right environment, all the things, and is accessible, and that the prices seem sensible to me. All of these are the things that will make his dental practice more successful. And this requires quite a lot of thinking. You're going to have to get more customers to become super successful. What most business owners do is they look at what all their competitors do to get customers, and then they do that. And the problem when you adopt that approach is that you get the same results as all your competitors, and all your competitors are kind of gathered in a kind of amorphous mass in the middle of that market where there's not much to choose between people. Some are better at this little bit than others, but fundamentally the majority have a mediocre business. They're not making super duper profits. They're absolutely not super successful. The few that are, the little top slice of the pyramid in every market or sector, those people, I promise you, are thinking differently to everyone else in that industry or sector. And that's where you've got to put yourself, and you physically almost have to go, I'm going to be thinking like one of the top people in my industry or sector. What does that mean? Well, the first thing it means, if we've got that clarity from belief number one, is we can start to join the dots. So what would need to happen for me to get that flow of customers. We talk a lot here at Entrepreneur Circle about cracking the rhythmic acquisition of customers. It's truly, truly a wonderful thing. When you have the rhythmic acquisition of customers in your business, what it means is you're getting the right inflow of the right sort of customers with the right sort of frequency, day after day, week after week. Rhythmic acquisition will vary from business to business. We have one customer who refurbishes super yachts. He wants 3 customers a year. That's his rhythm. He only wants 3 customers a year. That's all his yard can deal with and cope with. I've got another customer who were both in our building on the same day last week. He runs a large restaurant in South Yorkshire. 120 covers is what he's got in there. He'd like to fill it twice a day. So his rhythm is 240 customers a day, and the other guy's rhythm is 3 a year. Your rhythm almost certainly is somewhere between the two. Understanding what it is, and then forcing yourself to genuinely start to think about what would need to happen for me to crack that rhythmic acquisition. Because here's another little insight that all super successful entrepreneurs know. Business, in particular being successful in business, it's a game. It's just like playing any other game. Your job as the business owner is to work out how to win the game. Now, in the game of business, as we said in belief number 1, you get to choose what success looks like. It's up to you. You set the definition of what it means to win. But once you've set that definition, whatever it is, your ability to then think and manifest that, and what's it mean for my business? And it starts typically, money's not the only thing, but money's the thing that we can count. It's a good measure in that regard. So, well, for me to fund that lifestyle, which is what winning looks like for me, I need this much money from my business. Now, to get this much money from my business, I need this many customers. How am I going to get those customers? How can I look after them? What would I have to do to get those customers to tell more of their peers or friends, or so I get more customers? Well, all these are cerebral thinking questions. And super successful entrepreneurs know that their level of success will be determined, will be directly linked by their ability to think accurately and honestly the answers to the right kind of questions. And marketing and selling, in particular, how you're going to market your business, how you're going to sell, the decisions, the big decisions you're going to make in your business, where you're going to spend your time as the business owner, which roles are you going to employ and deploy first. These are all things that come from thinking. And this recognition, this acceptance that your ability to use the brain cells that God has given you, that's what will determine where you end up. It's not down to anything else. It's not down to the government. It's not down to the banks. It's not down to the economy or what might be happening around the world. It's down to how you think about your business. And the super successful entrepreneurs recognize that. And I think in many ways, one of the most useful things that we do at Entrepreneur Circle is we do help people to think accurately and honestly about where their business is now, about where they really want it to be and what that means. And then, of course, the tricky bit, how the heck do we get there? That's the key that unlocks the path for so many people. The first step, by the way, to thinking is to start to carve out some time in your calendar to do it. Again, a lot of us, grew up in an age where we were taught to kind of work hard at school and pass our exams and get a job and work hard and then one day you'll be able to retire. And the kind of working hard is typically a characteristic that all entrepreneurs have. And the problem with working hard is it can erode and sometimes eliminate completely the time to think. And I know, in my own role as a business owner and entrepreneur, the most valuable thing I can do is get away from my business for an hour or two just to properly think. I like to do it when I'm walking. I like to have someone to talk to, because I think best when I'm able to bounce ideas, just one-on-one and have a conversation. But you need to create somehow the time to think, to kind of ask the questions for which the answers are not immediately obvious. That's almost like the definition of thinking. Getting answers that are obvious doesn't require thinking at all. It's obvious. It's getting answers to questions that are tricky. That's where the real prize is. I mean, sometimes it takes days and weeks to get the right answer. Sometimes you do have to go elsewhere, go find someone that's done what you want to do and talk with them. That's something it's probably why we, one of the most valuable things we do for so many of our members is help them think accurately and honestly and find the right answers to the questions that will unlock their progress to the success that they want to achieve. So that's belief number 2. Belief number 3, this is really important. I'm amazed at how many people don't fundamentally kind of get this and definitely don't believe it. So super successful entrepreneurs know for absolute certainty, they know that their ideal customers, the people that they really want in their businesses, are out there. That's the first part. And they are willing and able to do whatever it takes to attract those customers. Let's just start to unpick that a little bit, because again, I know that most business owners, their strategy for success is doing something and hoping that it'll be a success. And that's a really poor strategy. I do recognize that, if you do it often enough, at some point you'll get lucky and some of that will pay off, but it's not a smart strategy to deliver the life and the lifestyle that you want for yourself and the people that you love. Much better to start to think about things properly. And when we start to understand who your ideal customers are, that again is a fairly new concept for lots of business owners, because business owners that don't think a great deal, that carry on in the way that most people in their industry or sector do, they set up their business, they open their doors, they may launch their website, and they deal with whoever comes to them. They don't put in the thinking. Customers that have these characteristics are way more fun to work with. They're much easier to keep happy. Oh, and they're a lot less price sensitive. What a wonderful situation that is, as opposed to the customers that are always trying to screw you down on price, and they always cause you the most hassle and grief and the most demanding. And whilst again you can carry it, but you don't have to, because you get to choose what success looks like. And for lots of us in business, part of success is working with people that we enjoy working with. Every business owner has got customers that you love working with, that energize you, that you look forward to their call or to meeting them or to serving them. And then on the flip side, you've got customers that actually, if they were not in your life, the life would be better. They're always whinging and moaning and complaining. They're never happy. Whatever you do, you can't keep them happy. They give you lots of grief. They're the ones they argue on price. They pay you late. All the kind of grief and stuff that comes with it. Being able to understand what our ideal customer looks like and where those people are and what we can do to attract them. Boom. When you start to crack that, business start off become a lot easier. I promise you it does. Now, some of this is linked to marketing and selling for sure, but it starts quite a long way before that in terms of doing the thinking to understand who your ideal customer is. If you've been around and trading for any length of time at all, you'll already start to have a good feel for this, because you'll know from what I said a few moments ago, you know who those good customers are, what characteristics do they share. And once you understand who your ideal customers are, your job is just to attract them. We did some work recently with a business that one of our Entrepreneur Circle members, and his customers are big, large kind of infrastructure utility companies, people like Network Rail or Severn Trent Water, for instance, just a big, large operations. But he knows within those organisations the people or the job titles that he needs to get into conversation with in order to get work from them. And what he did, it was wonderful. He went out and he bought 80 pairs of what I would call industrial Wellington boots, the really kind of the stuff that you wear on proper big kind of building sites. And fundamentally what he did was put big stamps on a single Wellington boot with a message inside it. It was tied up at the end, and he literally sent the Wellington boot in the post. It wasn't wrapped. The Wellington boot went in the post. Now, straight away, what that did when it landed is it got the attention, not just of the person it was sent to, but it got the attention of their PA or their secretary, got the attention of their colleagues as well. And what he did when he sent out his 180 odd Wellington boots, within a fortnight, he'd had 25 phone calls with ideal customers. Did everyone respond? No, they did not. Did one or two people complain? Yes, they did. Did he get 25 phone calls with his ideal customers? You know, a good number of which are now progressing really well and which will deliver very sizable 6- and 7-figure contracts. Absolutely. Because he did the thinking. He knows who his ideal customers are. He knows they are out there. And he's thinking about how he can communicate, create the awareness, get into dialogue, have a conversation with them. One of the biggest things that changed my business several years ago now was when I deployed a couple of people to just be on the telephone talking to our potential customers. And when people inquire about some of our services, what we do is we just offer them the chance to have a chat. And having those conversations has made a massive difference. Because I know my ideal customers are out there. I also know what stops them doing things and taking action and moving things forward. So I work really hard to create little baby steps. And you know, having a phone call with someone is a way smaller step than signing a check or an order form or putting my credit card details in and buying something. And smaller steps lead to bigger progress over time because we think about it properly. And for your business, you know, the truth is almost certainly your ideal customers are out there in sufficient volume to get you to where you want to be in that business. And your job is just to be able to go out there and make yourself and your business attractive to them, to get their awareness, to make them aware of you, to talk in the right kind of way. And this is really smart 21st century marketing. It's not about throwing loads of shit at the wall and hoping some of it sticks. It's about being thoughtful. And all super successful entrepreneurs get this third belief. They know the customers they need are out there. There's absolutely no doubt about that whatsoever in their mind, and that's what matters. And then they're able to deploy their thinking to look at, well, what's the best way, the smartest way, the most effective way for me to get their attention, get into dialogue or whatever the sales process might be, because then they'll come to me. And what I've discovered, having worked with so many businesses over such a long time now, is that often it is the boldest moves that produce the best results. Because yes, it does take a little bit of boldness to send out 180 Wellington boots, but the results, well, they speak for themselves. Belief number 4, super successful entrepreneurs, they always view failure as feedback. And that's easy. Oh, yeah, of course. Yeah, no, but every single time. That you will not meet anybody who has built a super successful business that has not had multiple setbacks, and most likely some of them quite serious. We all have. I almost lost my entire business 10 years ago. Everybody that's achieved success in business has had things go wrong. They have made mistakes. They've made bad calls and bad decisions. They've not understood things properly. They thought they were too smart and that if I do this, it'll all work. And it all comes crashing down in different ways and shapes. The truth is, especially in business, but it's true in every aspect of life, failure is not final. You know, it just gives us data. We just have to understand what happened there, what can we learn from it, how can we move forward and do better next time. And top entrepreneurs always use the things that go wrong as tools to help them progress, whereas lots of people give up after failure. I see this so many times with Google ads in particular. And I was very fortunate. I got into Google Ads right at the very beginning in the UK, well over 20 years ago now when Google Ads first started. And in many ways, it helped me to build the first couple of my £1 million plus businesses because I was paying literally 1 and 2 pence a click. And I could get all the customers I needed really, really easily. And it was a wonderful, wonderful time in that regard. It has got a bit more complex now. It's certainly got a bit more expensive. But the truth is, Google Ads remains one of the most powerful marketing pillars for almost every business. There are some exceptions that it's not right for, although your business probably isn't one of them. But what happens is businesses have a dabble, they give Google Ads a go, and they might spend a few £100, even a few £1,000, and they don't get the result they wanted. And I see it, someone, they come to me, oh no, you know, Google doesn't work for us. Almost certainly not true. Almost certainly that your campaign didn't work. That's feedback. You know, there's data in that campaign, you can learn from that campaign, but let's look at the fundamentals, because your ideal customers are out there. We know that from the earlier belief. And you have to be willing to do what it takes to attract them. Well, one of the things that it takes is making sure that when the portion of your ideal customers that want what you provide go onto Google looking for it, because some people will, they've got to find you. And it's your job to make your Google Ads campaign work in a cost-effective, profitable way for you. Now, that might be too difficult for you right now because you may not have the knowledge and the experience of running successful Google Ad campaigns, but it's not that difficult to get that knowledge. Statistically, if you're watching this video, you can probably drive a car. Do you remember when you first got behind the wheel of a car? Kangarooing down the street, hitting the curb when you were trying to reverse around the corners. It was difficult when we began. But a few weeks later, a few months at most, and in most of our cases, we became competent drivers, we passed our tests, and we don't think about the skill of driving ever again. And the skill of driving is a really good analogy for example, Google Ads. And it also is a good analogy for almost any other form of marketing, by the way, because while some of the marketing agencies and the marketing gurus might want you to think that they're super clever and somehow gifted from God with these amazing insights, the truth is modern day marketing is no harder really than driving a car. And you do have to practice a bit, you do have to have some lessons, there are some things you need to learn, but it's not difficult, anyone can do it. And if you are focused on what success means for you, belief number one, we know what success looks like, and we believe it can happen, then in most cases, you as the business owner getting focused on the marketing bit, because the marketing is what brings in the customers. And once you've got the customers, in my experience, everything else can get taken care of. If you can get and keep enough customers, you can deal with all the other problems that business presents. And therefore getting and keeping customers is a worthy area, it's a worthy space, it's worthy time. It's a manifestation of this fourth belief, because what we know as successful entrepreneurs is that when things don't work, it's just feedback. Let me try and find a way around that. How else can we get there? The fifth of our 7 beliefs that is common to all super successful entrepreneurs is that they commit. They don't dabble. And this is one of the biggest differences between the wannabes that would love to have a successful business and the super successful. Lots of people would like to be at the helm of a super successful business, but they're not prepared to do the things that will get them into that position. And being able to commit and not dabble is definitely one of them. And just to be clear here, let's not confuse commitment with working hard. I do recognize that pretty much every entrepreneur and business owner works hard. We put in more hours at work than any other sector of the population by miles. In most cases, most entrepreneurs are very focused on doing a great job for their customers. And in many cases, they make themselves subservient to their customers. So they do all the things to look after their customers at the expense of not doing the things to move their business to where it wants to get to. That's an example of dabbling. Because at some point, if you're running this business, there's a purpose, there's a reason why you're doing it. Because if you crack belief number one, you know what success looks like. You know why it matters, and you believe that it's possible. And therefore, there has to be time allocated in every working week to move you to where you want to be. I have a little device that I talk a lot about that's been the absolute linchpin of my success in business. I call it my 90 minutes. I'm a morning person. I'm at my most prolific and most productive in a morning. And when I get to work, I shut my office door. There's a sign. You can see it. The sign says, "Do not disturb unless building is on fire." If you want one of these signs, I'll send one to you if you're serious about making this step forward in your business. Because when you are able to focus for 90 minutes every day on the things that will make your business more successful, you will be astonished at the progress that you make and the speed with which you make it. 90 minutes a day is 7.5 hours a week of you at your most productive, without any interruptions. No one can get in. I don't open my email. You don't answer the phone. No one can come in the office. You're focusing for 90 minutes on something or some things each day that are moving your business towards where you want it to be. That's what commitment is, as opposed to dabbling. If you can't find 90 minutes, or even, start with 60 minutes if it helps. But if you can't find those chunks of time, multiple or most days a week, recognize that for what it is. It's a symptom of the dabbler. You're not committed. That's what the evidence will suggest. Because you can't unknow this now, I've told it to you. Having time every day to focus on the things that will move your business forward, that's what makes the difference. And that's the commitment. And it's a commitment of time. It's being able to lock out the world. Because again, what I've discovered over the years, there's nothing that won't wait 90 minutes. Honestly, there's nothing. My wife knows she can't ring me till after 9:30 in the morning because I'm doing my 90 minutes. My kids know that I'm not available to them until after 9:30. My staff know in the morning I'm doing my 90 minutes because the sign's on the flipping door. It just took one disciplinary many years ago for people to know I was serious about it, because I am committed to getting my business to where I want it to be, and I can't do that if I am continuously at everybody else's beck and call, and you can't either. And you've got to be able to ring fence that time, and that's a really powerful step towards this fifth belief about committing, not dabbling. And whatever your excuse is, just recognize the truth. If you can't find that time, you're a dabbler, and dabblers rarely achieve super success. So the price for being a dabbler is a very heavy price indeed. And it will lead to drift, it'll lead to lack of progress, it leads to loss of momentum, and it leads to businesses staying, broadly speaking, where they are right now in the pack with everybody else in mediocre land. And that's not where super successful entrepreneurs live. Another element on commitment, by the way, on this one. One of the first businesses that I introduced way back in 2004 was a business called MyMag. And the details don't really matter now, but our ideal customer for MyMag, we were very thought through on this. Our ideal customer was a new mum, someone that had had a baby recently, who had had a career. They were on maternity leave. They needed to earn money. Their household needed money from work that they did, but they did not want to go back to work. So a new mum on maternity leave who had a good job, who needed to earn money, but did not need to go back to work. That's a really great example of an ideal customer. And so all our messaging when we were promoting MyMag talked to those people, to those women. And because we spoke to them so specifically and directly, a lot of them responded. We attracted them. Was it easy writing all that marketing? No, it wasn't. Especially I did it, I had to write it. And I am not a new mum who's had a career, who needs some money. So I had to go to a lot of effort to put myself in their heads and understand it. But having done that, we attracted lots of them. And what's really interesting is, and they had to make an investment in themselves and buy this package. It was £2,000 or £3,000 at the time, depending on when you bought, which was a lot of money when you're on maternity leave, with the clock ticking. It's when you've got to go back to work. The point of this little anecdote and story is that not a single mum who met those criteria, they were on maternity leave and they invested in MyMag, they needed to earn money, they don't want to go back to work, not a single person that bought our program and our package, and there were literally hundreds of them, not one of them failed because they were all in. When they wrote that check and spent the family's savings, or put it on the credit card to buy this package, they had to make it work. And not one of them failed, because it's another example of the power of commitment in business when you absolutely have to make it work. And I know I've achieved some of the things that I'm most proud of when my back's been against the wall and I've absolutely had to make it work. And you'll be able to probably relate to that as well. But this ability to commit and not dabble on a daily basis, best manifestation of it is your 90 minutes or your 60 minutes at a push. But recognize that 60 is nothing like as good as 90 minutes. Okay, so go all in, commit to that. Don't be a dabbler, and you've got a chance of moving up and achieving the success that you want for your business and joining those super successful entrepreneurs. 2 beliefs to go. Belief number 6 that all super successful entrepreneurs in the UK absolutely have and share is they know that in their business, the answers to everything are in their numbers. Yeah. You were hoping I wasn't going to say that, were you? I know, I reckon what it's like. So many entrepreneurs, their natural space is not the numbers. It's, I don't do numbers. Well, again, recognize the price you're going to pay for not doing numbers. The likelihood is, statistically, you're going to be sat in the pack. You're in the mediocre middle with everybody else. The super successful have had to train themselves. They've had to learn. They've had a lot of experience in there, but they've had to work out what the numbers mean. And because they know that in their business, the answer to any question they've got are always in the numbers. It's critically right. Because numbers, they show you what's working in a business and they show you what's not working in a business. And if you're not prepared to look at the numbers and understand them and get help when it's not your natural space, just no different to Google Ads, just kind of learn it. I promise you, accountants are not special people. I know that's a bit of a shock to come out. Honestly, they are not at all. And they can understand numbers, for Christ's sake, so you definitely can. Successful entrepreneurs track the right numbers all the time. Lots of business owners, they'll avoid the numbers because they're uncomfortable with them. But that discomfort comes at a massive price. Some of the most important numbers that you should understand in your business, probably arguably the most important number, is your gross margin. What is your gross margin in percentage terms? And again, if you've got different product lines and different divisions, you'll have different gross margins across those different divisions and product lines. But understanding what that gross margin is critical when it comes to making big decisions on like how much you can afford to spend to acquire a customer, for instance, which is a second really important number. So gross margin is number one. The cost you can spend to acquire a customer is the second most important number. And it's a number that most people don't know. But the super successful entrepreneurs absolutely do know it. Third number, just to think about here, what was your operational cash flow last month? That's the thing, operational cash flow. Operational cash flow tells you the extent to which your business is either generating cash or consuming cash on a monthly basis. And understanding what that is a massive thing in terms of giving you confidence to take bold decisions and do things to move the business forward. You have to know what your operational cash flow is. There's a button on Xero QuickBooks you can press that will tell you, but you need to understand what it means and what the pattern is. For most businesses, for instance, if you're paying your VAT quarterly, like most kind of large businesses are for sure, then your operational cash flow should be very positive for 2 months, and then it'll typically go negative in the third month, the month that you pay your big VAT bill. And you've got this pattern. Now, understanding this and what's going on, and the pattern from operational cash flow is a good example of understanding the numbers properly and recognizing that the answer to everything in the business can be found in the numbers. How much do you have to sell this month to break even? Super successful entrepreneurs absolutely know the answer to that question off the tip of their tongue, because getting past break even is really critical for every business. Interestingly, once you are beyond break even in any period of time, the gross margin on every additional sale goes straight down to the bottom line, whatever business or industry you are in. That's why knowing the gross margin is really important. Knowing what you can do to bring in the right customer flow to get you where you want to get to, that's a really key number. And it liberates you. It removes all the guesswork once you start to understand these things. They're all tied in and they're tied in together. So there's a lot in here, and I guess kind of what I'm doing now is almost making you, if it's appropriate, consciously incompetent around your numbers. Because what I promise you, if you aspire to super success, is we'll have to get you absolutely competent in not just understanding, not just about the P&L and the balance sheet. There's way more to it than that. The key numbers, the key levers that drive growth in every business, those are the tools that you need at your beck and call as the business owner driving things forward. And then our final belief number 7, this is an interesting one, and this will probably surprise you. Super successful entrepreneurs know that more leads and more customers may actually harm their business and lose them money. It could damage their profitability. More leads and more customers, how can that harm us? Because for most business owners who aspire to growth, it's all, give me more leads, I make more sales. But the truth is, that is not always the best way forward. Because you see, when you grow anything in life, not just businesses, anything, when you magnify it, you magnify its flaws. Think about it like a photograph or a digital photograph. When we blow it up really big, it becomes pixelated, doesn't it? You see all the flaws. And in lots of businesses, if they were to suddenly get a lot more customers, the flaws in their processes for handling those customers, for delivering to those customers, making sure those customers are happy, collecting the cash from those customers, or these things can all go awry because the systems and processes are not robust enough. And the business is at a stage right now where the business owner, by their single-handed magnificence and prowess, can keep everything running because you know what's happening right now. You've got your eye on everything. You can do this, see that, catch that. Whoa, I nearly dropped that there. Hey, it's okay, I've got you. But when the scale of the business gets bigger, if you haven't got the right processes in place, the business can literally fall apart. So more isn't always better. It can mean a lot of chaos. It can definitely damage reputations. We've all been to businesses that have been too busy to give a good experience. And as a consequence, we don't go back. We don't rave about them, and their growth is very short-lived. They peak and then they trough. Because without the right systems and processes, growth is a liability. And super successful entrepreneurs understand that. Now, it's all about just fixing the systems and processes as you grow. You don't need to make them bomb-proof at the beginning, but you do need to tighten them up and make them more and more robust in line with your growth. And smart scaling just means protecting that profit. It means always having the right capacity so you can deliver in the right way, because for any business, our reputation depends on what our customers say about us and how they talk about us. And I've seen with a lot of our EC members, Entrepreneur Circle members, they come in, they're looking for more leads and more growth. In lots of cases, by the way, what they need to do, the first step, isn't actually to get more leads at all. They just need to look after the leads they've already got in a better way. They're not following up on the leads. They're not nurturing them properly. They don't need to spend more money on getting more in. Just got to do the right things to bring them back together. And one little thing that might help you here, just to think about this, if you were to get double the number of customers in your business next month, what would break first? Think about that. If you got twice as many customers or orders or whatever jobs you got to fulfill next month than you had this month, what would break first? That's a good thing to think about and start to tackle and build it and make it more robust. If, of course, you want more growth and you want to join these super successful entrepreneurs at the top of the tree in every single sector. If you want more practical content to help you grow a successful business here in the UK, then just hit subscribe to this channel, because we put videos like this out every single week. There's plenty more coming. I hope that's been helpful. Thanks for staying with me. I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.